All right, let's do it. Welcome to CCnDoc Talk Goes Video. And today we're going to talk about a topic about highly sensitive people, because I live with somebody who defines that. And I've had to learn over the years, and you've learned over the years, of what does this actually mean, and what does it look like, and what does it feel like, and what's the difference. And so we're just going to have a little fun with this, because there's been issues that have surfaced along the way over the years, not just recently, but over the years. And I just go, you know what, let's deal with that when we have to, or if it happens, and let's wait and see, or whatever.
She pretty much says, calm the down. Which really doesn't go over well.
Yeah, that was just like, that whole gas fire thing, and you're like, I don't need to calm down, whatever. Anyways, no, you don't, but it just usually doesn't go well. So we've had to really figure out why is there such a difference, and why do you, when you have something that really gets in and under your skin, how long do you spiral and hang on to it and think about it? And
years? Decades?
Yeah.
Millennia?
Right.
No, I mean, the emotional attachment, well, I don't know. I think there are some major things that have, kind of shaped my life that absolutely, I still have an emotional attachment to, and all you have to do is bring it up and I'm right there in that emotion. But I definitely have a harder time letting things go. So, we're currently in, an election year. So
a political crap, happening. And you grab onto things and it's like,
Well, and I think it's funny because you say I grab onto things, but what happens is I actually absorb things. I don't intentionally go, hey, let me look at the worst news of the day I could possibly look at, and then have a reaction to it. It's that, even trying to, I try really hard to eliminate a lot of the stuff that's coming at you, especially during an election year. But even on, Instagram, there's a million things. So my point is, I don't intentionally seek out things to be upset about. So, when you're
years or decades,
right? But as an HSP, what happens is, you just absorb them. It's a bit like being a human pincushion in a way, or a sponge. You just take stuff in. I could be around somebody with negative energy who might be putting on a perfectly good front that they're a lovely person, and maybe they are a lovely person deep down, but maybe on some level they're very kind of damaged emotionally. And I will walk away from that.
Or they do things that they think they're funny and it's degrading, or
degrading sarcasm,
or that subtle stuff where people don't even realize they're almost insulting you.
And I literally unconsciously pick up on all of that to the point where I'm just exhausted after hanging out with that person. So, even somebody, for instance, who might be working on themselves and their issues, if I spend too much time with them, I'll be like, I got a long way to go.
Yeah. And you're constantly trying to educate me on what an HSP is.
Regularly.
So I know you have a committee in your head of, so you got the 4 temperaments, and you're a chameleon.
That was one of our original podcasts, by the way.
And you're a Gemini.
Real colors.
You have a lot of committee going on.
I got a lot.
You need to dot a lot of I's and cross a lot of T's.
I got a lot.
And so there's a lot.
And there's a lot of gray area.
And you're so smart and so brilliant. And so you're really just covering so many bases, and you have input. So all this information come in.
My brain never, ever shuts off. And I've also realized my nervous system never shuts off either. So I can't turn off my brain, but then because of the HSP, I also can't turn off my nervous system. And I just take all that stuff in. And I've done so much work on learning how to protect myself and my energy. I'm also an empath. So that, that kind of exacerbates the problem. But I've done so much work, but there's still a lot that gets in that I don't want it to. So anyway,
I'm really good at practicing detachment therapy.
Yeah, Amy just walks away and detaches completely from
everything. We'll deal with it when we need to deal with it, So, all right. So highly sensitive people don't just notice more, their system actually processes it longer and more deeply. That means that almost any experience they have gets turned over in their minds again and again.
And again.
As a result, HSPs are more prone to overstimulation and overwhelm.
Thank you. That is that's my life right there.
So we were on the phone with one of our good friends, and you were spiraling about something. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, we need to calm down. And I said, when an issue comes up, I walk up and it's like dog poop, right? And I
go,
peace,
love, and poop, people.
Peace, love, and poop.
Peace, love, and poop.
I walk up and I go like, yep, that's dog poop, And first of all, that's a whole different podcast about people leaving poop on the trails and the poop bags. But all right, but anyways, there's poop.
You digress.
And I just go, all right. And you walk around it, right? No, not an HSP. An HSP is like, what's this? Yep. Whoa, this is really bad. And then, like a dog with a fish, let's just roll in it. Let's get it all over us. And then they wonder, why am I absorbing all this shit? Why is it sticking with me? And now I can't get rid of it. I feel like shit everywhere. Now I got the emotion of it, and it just stinks. And even if I wash my clothes, it doesn't go away. And I'm like, why didn't you just step over it? And you're like, that's not what I do. You just can't.
Because I can't just step over this shit.
You roll in it. I mean, you really do. And then you just, and then
very
you're like,
tactile. All of the senses have to be involved.
And then you're like, why are you not upset about it? I'm like, well, I didn't roll in it. First of all, I didn't feel the need to roll in it. And so can't we just step over it? And you're like, no. And why is this not important to you? Well, it is important to me, but I don't have to get all rolled up in it to absorb it or to whatever. Plus, you do enough for both of us. I mean, somebody's got to balance this little teeter-totter here and go, oh, yeah.
Hey, no. Your laundry goes in with mine.
I know. An extra rinse load sometimes doesn't help. All right. So what do we do about this? How do you process?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
because you're not going to stop rolling in it. I mean,
yeah, it's a physical impossibility. I mean,
you spiral.
It requires
swirl.
A lot of.
That's a good word.
I swirl.
You swirl.
Yeah, well, I sometimes spiral too, but I do a lot of swirling. There's a lot of swirling,
and then you start the research because you're a good researcher. Yeah. And then you're down, I mean, not just one or two, but 50,000 rabbit holes and articles, and then you want to send me the articles on it, and then you want to,
I think we've gone beyond HSP there, though. That might be some.
Well, now
things.
You're trying to get you want to get both sides, and now you want to maybe.
I'm a good debater. I should have been a debater in high school.
Yeah, you should.
Although I get too emotionally involved, so therefore, forget what I just.
There is passion behind it.
Never mind. We always actually said I'd make a good lawyer, but
how do you process this? How do you live with?
Well, I mean, so like I said, I mean, I've done a lot of work to try to get to a place where it doesn't always affect me. The first thing, meditation. Yeah. A lot of meditation, a lot of listening to solfeggio tones. I can insert a little clip into this podcast to show you some of the main solfeggio tones. Solfeggio tones are basically a musical tone that has certain healing properties, and different tones have different properties for different things. And so I use a lot of solfeggio tones. I sleep at night to different solfeggio tones. I do a lot of guided meditations. And then I also do binaural beats. Those are designed for headphones because they're designed to have the left ear have one experience and the right ear have another experience. And so I do a lot of that kind of stuff. I do a lot of affirmations. I do a lot of that, woo-woo mind, body, spirit stuff. There's a lot of that. I do a lot of. And this is
all to just really calm that central nervous system.
Yeah, to keep myself.
That vagus nerve,
right.
Which is the fight, flight, or
and then,
freeze.
I also, so we're back to the whole, I'm the ambivert. I'm right in the middle on the introvert extrovert spectrum. So there is quite a bit of, limiting my exposure. There are some people in our lives that we say, good in small doses. So, certain people in small doses.
Yeah.
Or if I know that I have to be around somebody who doesn't have good energy or who has, triggered that response in me in the past, I make sure that I do something before I go to spend time with them.
Put up an extra thick bubble, protect
the rainbow,
your energy.
I call it the rainbow bubble of protection. And if you're into archangels, Michael is actually the protective archangel. So you can ask him to protect you with his blue light. Raphael is healing. He'll protect you with his green light. So yeah, I have like this rainbow bubble of protection, but I have to consciously make a concerted effort to put up sort of a wall and protect my energy. And this is where I struggle too, because as you know, like you and I are not fans of just small talk in situations. I'd just rather not be someplace if I have to just engage in small talk. And yet staying on that surface level is sometimes easier with people who trigger that HSP.
So once again, finding that balance
response. Yeah. So it really is. It's a lot about balance. I mean, I guess I should ask you, has it gotten any better since we've identified what it is, which has been really only since probably 2020, since COVID. And has it gotten any better? And do you see any differences about how I approach things?
You want the correct answer?
No, I want your actual answer. Yeah.
I think we're more aware of it.
She stopped saying calm down.
Yeah, because that wasn't working at all. And you are CC, Technicolor CC here. So, I always have to kind of like, what color zone are we in?
Yeah, where am I at today?
And so I think, yes, I think knowing these, having a language that identifies it, that we can understand it, we can then speak to it. And I can say,
sending you 50 memes from Instagram.
Right. You're still trying to educate me or let me know you're in that swirl state, or for me to say, okay, you're swirling. Let's do something then. And I also sometimes I need to let you know that you've been heard.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I hear you. We don't need to take this to all these levels,
right? And
we will figure it out. Again, if we need to be making decisions, but it's too premature, I mean, just as simple as, making a purchase and you're trying to spiral around it or swirling around it, there's this, there's that, there's this or that. It's like,
wait a minute. I don't spiral or swirl around making purchases. I research, and so do you. So that's really an unfair comparison. Let's talk hurricanes.
Okay, hurricanes. Okay,
yeah,
I was trying to come up with
Sorry,
well, I didn't want to say anything political because, so I did purchase is what came out.
Yeah, because that was the last podcast.
Right, okay, so.
We already pissed everybody in our audience off. We have 2 people watching now for this.
But they're really important.
HSP
they're really important. We love spending time with you. Yeah.
Maybe we should have put HSP before Amendment J. Anyway, hurricanes. Let's talk
hurricanes, because that is one.
And my mom lives in a hurricane-prone area.
Right. So you, all of a sudden, I
just realized I do quotes a lot. Sorry, I'm gonna have to check that. It's like
because you've researched it. No.
Okay, go. My mom lives in a hurricane-prone area.
So you have like all these hurricane apps on your phone, and you get a warning that there's a hurricane brewing, and it's still overcoming.
It's still in Africa.
It's still in Africa, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do we need to do? And I'm like, well,
is it heading toward my mom? Oh my God.
Should we tell? I mean, I'm like, whoa. I mean, right now it's just a tropical depression. Pull up the spaghetti graph. Let's see where it's going. And, if it starts to get closer, let's just keep an eye on it, right? And so it's just a matter of that. I would say from my perspective, it's like, let's put it into a reality check, right? Okay, yes, thank you for being aware of it, and let's keep an eye on it. But there's nothing that we can do right now. And here's the interesting thing. Is even if the hurricane does end up coming and goes that direction,
probably nothing
we can do about it. There's still nothing we can do about it, right? And so unless there's action that we can take.
Yeah.
Right. So I always come in, my perspective is, unless there's action that we can take.
She is the annoying logical voice of reason is what she is. That's it.
It's like the annoying what would you like to do about this? Are you ready to drive down there and get her and take her out? You want to send her a ticket? Are we going to actually do anything?
Empathy would be good.
And all you want is empathy, right? And I'm like, are we taking action? And because I have activators. So if there's nothing we can do, no action that we're going to take, then we got to let go of the energy or the anger or the whatever the emotion is that is not kind of wrapped in that dog shit that is kind of like stinking.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but let's be prepared to take action when we need to, or when we can, or when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
So the information is valid.
Well, and one of the things that we've done is, I think except for maybe Hurricane Tracker, which doesn't usually notify you until it's much closer, she now keeps an eye on the hurricane. So like if I see,
so you've taken some of these apps off your phone because you don't need to know about the ones that are 3 weeks away.
Yeah, or at least the notifications. Like I used to have notifications for my family members, my sister and my mom in the different states, and anytime there was snow or rain or whatever, like I would get these warnings. Like my mom also tornado prone area, so she's always getting tornado warnings, and I'd be like, so I turned off those notifications. I think I do still get the hurricane ones now, but what I do is I
watch, and I will then let you know.
There's and she has the same app, so I'm like, there's a hurricane warning, and then she's on point until I need to worry about it.
Yes.
And by the way, I should point out here, because it almost sounds like I can't deal with stress, and I want to be real clear about what HSP is like for people. I am very good under pressure. I am very able to deal with stress. Unfortunately, I deal with too much of it. I think all of us do in this world. So I think we're all too stressed out. I don't think any of us ultimately deal with very bad stress well. But, I don't want you to think that HSPs can't cope. They absolutely
or you
can
can't deal
cope.
with these things.
They just feel and sense things at a much greater level. It's like
it's so deep. It's
hypersensitivity.
It's in your system. It's in your central nervous system.
It is. It's yes, absolutely, it is. And
you read the news and you have a visceral, very emotional, physical reaction,
which, by the way, makes fantastic activists. And so, there is a place for HSPs in the world, right? Like I just want to be clear that being an HSP is not a bad thing. What's difficult?
It doesn't make, it's not like a form of weakness or that you can't cope or you can't deal with these things.
Right.
It's
what's
actually
difficult is figuring out how to manage it so it doesn't overwhelm you or make you ill, right? Big fat tumor in your rectum, or living with somebody who doesn't have it and doesn't understand it, and trying to help them understand, and navigate the relationship challenges that level of sensitivity can bring. But
because it's not like I'm being unsensitive.
Right.
It's like I go with logic and I'm like, all right, let's look at this a different direction.
Well, because quite frankly, you are actually quite an empath. So even though, you have that more sort of logical sometimes approach to things and even detachment, you actually are quite empathic, which most people may not know that. But, I think we're equally empathic. I just have the HSP on top of that, and then it just so it's just
I
really
recognize the dog shit.
I see it before I step in it. It's just like a magnet, though.
Well, the one thing that the HSP gives you is impeccable, and my dad actually described it as scary intuition.
Yeah, I do have that. Well, and it's funny that you said that, because I was actually just going to say that. So whereas we're talking about me not being able to avoid the dog poop, and I just said it's magnetic, right? The difference though is, and it's fascinating, I don't anymore, and maybe this is an evolutionary thing, I don't know, I don't get sucked into relationships that are toxic. In fact, I mean I've had some in the past, and so maybe this is I learned it along the way without realizing it, or whatever. But I think you're actually more prone to getting sucked into toxic relationships and not knowing when to let go of them.
Right.
So maybe that's one way that I've managed it over the years and managed to get better at it, is that I no longer accept toxic relationships. I definitely find a way to distance myself from those. I mean, if I'm starting to feel like, this relationship is not,
or somebody that is
mutually
really
beneficial for
taking advantage and and not the reciprocation.
Yeah, I'll put up the hand, which seems very kind of un-HSP like, but keep in mind, most HSPs probably fall in the blue, back to real colors, blue, warm, touchy fuzzy, everything from the heart perspective, and I am not all blue. I'm all four equally, so I can, maybe that's some of it.
Even
too.
your pants represent you four colors equally. Yep, orange, blue, gold, green, equally.
Your podcast, where do you want to go?
All right. So I think it's just to be aware of these things, and I mean it's nothing, you can't turn it off, right? And
it's an asset in a lot of ways. It's an asset. Right. I have great intuition.
And the other thing is, I can't turn it on.
I'm a little psychic.
That's true. And so for us to, to be aware, to have a language that we can speak to it, that we can recognize it, that we can help one another. And the other thing that so to be aware that you can take action to help protect certain situations, like you're not reading the news right before you go to sleep, or it's not the first thing you look at when you get up in the morning, because it just sets your day off wrong. And then when your day gets off, on the wrong foot, then mine does too. So,
and vice
so
versa,
we've discussed about,
we're very symbiotic that way. We feed off each other's emotions.
Codependent.
Happily codependent.
COE dependent. Yes.
There is such a thing.
And so I think we've come to some agreements and understanding of, okay, let's try this for a while, or let's try that for a while, or, for me to use the right language, I can say, hey, you're swirling. I can't, I shouldn't say, hey, you're jumping from the branches of the crazy tree right now.
Yeah. You decided that's not good. That just feels really offensive sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, even yesterday, when we went outside for lunch after I had like a super hectic morning, I am not an early riser, but when I do wake up early, and yesterday I did, I just immediately come downstairs and I start cranking things out. Or sometimes
but then when you run into roadblocks,
sometimes I meditate, and I ran into a bunch of roadblocks yesterday morning. So by noon I was stressed, and
you were riled. I just don't know what to say.
And sometimes it's better. Again, empathy is the best. The empathy is the best thing to use with an HSP. And I was just going to give you credit, because I think you've gotten way better about not,
I don't try to minimize it
or minimize.
I'm like, it wasn't that bad,
because that'll just piss me off.
Yeah, and so I was just stayed really quiet yesterday and through lunch,
but we went outside for lunch, and I said, I have to say, like, all of a sudden I'm feeling very overwhelmed again. Like, there's this, and this, and we know that happens every time we come back from a long trip. And while that, I know it's a temporary situation, I'm like, it's still a pattern that we need to resolve. Like, because it makes you it makes me not want to go on long trips, because the week after is just so exhausting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's got to be a way to not have this in our lives. So yesterday I was just like, I basically just made it as a statement. There wasn't really a lot of emotion behind it. It was just like, I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now, and I'd like to figure out a way to change this pattern that we are in of, travel punishment.
Yeah.
Travel punishment.
And it's like, what? I'm sorry that you're having a frustrating morning.
Yeah.
Well,
and we have said, at least the holiday trip coming up, we will not be spending 10 weeks on the road this year.
It was 12 weeks.
Because I think, and at one point, both of us thought that, one of us thought that she didn't need a home base, but I think you're even realizing now you like to have the home base time in between. Yeah, and we live in this lovely place. I mean, who wouldn't want to be here?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we like traveling too. So anyway, back to the HSP.
Well, this was a good example of the HSP. So needing to make sure we cover a lot of the bases there. So on that note, is there any final words? We're going to wrap it up here.
Peace, love, and poop, people.
Yep.
Peace, love, and happy pooping.
Technicolor CC in all her glory, and Amy here don't care. So here we are. Hope you're enjoying the video part of our podcast now.
You can watch our podcast now on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube Music, I think it is. And you can find it at our brand new
website,
completely revised, totally consolidated and simplified CCnDoc website. That's CCnDoc. You can also find my Badass Life blog and blog out on that same website, or
and that was
mybadass.life.
Say that again.
CCnDoc and mybadass.life.
CCnDoc.com.
Sorry, yeah.
So there are some different ones these days. So I'm just being very literal here.
Anyway, you can find it all at CCnDoc.com or on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. And the beauty of YouTube is you can also add comments and questions, and we will be happy to respond.
Especially the HSP.
Yeah. It's usually my job anyway.
Have a beautiful day.